Right, so as most of you may know, over the last few months, I've been digging into NFTs. And I think for the most part, the whole profile picture and avatar wave is pretty much going to come to an end. I feel like that market is really saturated. And based on the research that I've done, I'm thinking that a lot of the new money that's been brought into the NFT space is going to start moving towards NFTs with utility. Okay, and NFTs that have some kind of game that is back behind them, that has a that is kind of play to earn. So one of the projects I'm looking at and actually working with is Solagon. Okay, so they're minting in about 13 hours. Obviously, we are still really early to these to this space and really early to these kind of projects. So this won't be the only project that I'm working with. I'm going to be diversifying. I think that's the smart thing to do. Not going in all in and something that is speculative, but I'm really liking the look of this project. They've got a solid roadmap here, so if you want to go check that out, they're going to be giving away lots of money to big charities, so that's good. The minting is in 13 hours. I will be picking up a few of these with my own money, investing my own capital into this. So if you're interested in that, click the link in the description below. I will link this website there and their Twitter. Their community is growing. They've got a decent following on Twitter. And yeah, the project's looking good, so yeah, check that out. Bye. Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Crypto, Coffee and LoFi. So I've just thrown the NFT cut at the start of the video. If you are interested in NFTs, comment below. Tell me what projects you've been looking at, and if you want to see me cover NFTs in the future. Not all of them I'm going to be working with, probably most of them I won't be, but if you want to see it, then I'll start throwing them at the start of the videos. A new week. So we actually got a decent close here on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most of the alts as well. So I'm just going to cover Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, Tezos, Luna, and DOT, and Perp as well, actually. All right. So starting off with Bitcoin. If you go watch the other videos, everything is pretty much playing out perfectly as I said it would. So that's always good. We're coming up to a little bit of a tricky area here, and I'm going to go over exactly why I think price is it's a little bit hard to invest in any swing positions at the moment, in my opinion. So if you're new here, I'm just using the same pattern to find accumulation and distribution. I'm using that same pattern to find support, resistance, and also as my entry trigger. If any of this interests you throughout the video, click the link in the description below and pick up a copy of the strategy. But essentially, the pattern is just a head and shoulders. So I look for a sweep of a level, and once that level's swept, I look for a break below the low that's responsible for taking the high. And then once we revisit that area, I look for the same pattern to form again. And this is essentially the first signs of distribution. The strategy itself has a little bit more, has a few other aspects to it, but essentially I am just using this one pattern. So I don't really want to cover this higher time frame levels too much, because I have covered them in pretty much every episode, but we swept highs, breaking below, forming the same pattern again, perfectly retesting this level to the dollar. What I really didn't want to see is distribution forming again here, which is what we got. So sweeping out a high. Let me fix this up. Then breaking below the low. Right there. So we didn't quite get the retest. I'm thinking we can't get one more quick spike up. But back in this zone, I posted this on Twitter and you can go and check that out. I was looking for a temporary move above this lower time frame high right here, and then a rapid sell-off into this untested level of accumulation, where I was then looking for more accumulation. Now, fortunately, we did get that, which is a good sign. It could mean that once we revisit support in this range here, that if we reaccumulate, then we should be good for a move up into 70k. So, bullish scenario. I'll be looking for a move below this low here, and then some lower time frame accumulation. We don't necessarily have to test this level, although I would prefer it. But if we can take out these lows and reaccumulate, just using the same pattern but to the upside, then we should be good to head up. We do, though, still have some levels of resistance that need to be tested. So the first being this level, and then this level up here. So as long as we don't then redistribute and fall off and then form the same pattern again, something like that, then I think we should be good to just see some temporary downside here before some midterm upside. So I am leaning bullish as long as we don't redistribute at these levels. Would like to see some accumulation below these lows. What else? I guess I should go over the bearish scenario. So we have pretty much just retested this zone, taken out this high, and then formed another bearish broken base. But until we get a follow through with some more distribution, something like this, and then a breakdown, then I don't think that this high here is going to hold. Okay, so leaning bullish, but of course with this strategy, I have to trade the actual setup that I'm seeing. So even though I would prefer to buy, I prefer the market to be bullish, if we are just redistributing once we reach into resistance, then I have to follow the rules. But yeah, I would like to see this high invalidated. I think until we see some solid daily closes above 50k, then I think we should assume that this is just retesting bearish levels. But if we do start to see some closes above 50k, then there's nothing stopping us going all the way to 70 and even reaching up into all-time highs. Now you have to ask yourself too, if we are going to reach up in the 70k, you know, what's stopping us from just using this as support, the previous high support, and then running up to 100k? Not a lot in my opinion. So seeing some reaccumulation in this zone and then seeing a close above 50k would be really strong in my opinion, and we could head up into all-time highs quite easily from there. Now moving on to ETH, a similar picture. So if I go onto the hourly, so we've broken out of this diagonal trend line here, which is a good sign. We then had a broken base, so we have a sweep there, breaking above the high, then returning, forming some accumulation again. Not the cleanest pattern because we do have some equal lows here, but that's fine. We formed equal lows at the previous higher time frame bottom as well. So as long as there's accumulation within those equal lows, we can still use them. So here we've retested the candle that swept the level and then reaccumulated here. So it's another good sign that price is bullish. We have broken out of all of this resistance. So now the next step, what we'll be looking for is some reaccumulation down here. And then hopefully an entry trigger somewhere in this level. But I think just like Bitcoin, we are in a little bit of a tricky situation because technically price is just retesting areas of distribution. So I would like to see the areas of distribution invalidated before assuming that price is bullish on the higher time frames. So I'm thinking we get a lower time frame sweep here, followed by some reaccumulation into this high, and then as long as we don't then breach into the high and distribute, then just like Bitcoin, I think Ethereum would be good to head up into all-time highs above 4k. So really a perfect long setup here last week. Although I know a lot of people in the Discord caught this all the way down at this level, which is impressive. Okay, so we swept out this low, breaking above a high, retesting this level, sweeping out another low, breaking above this high, and sweeping out this low, breaking above this high, and retesting this candle perfectly. And having that align with this diagonal trendline breakout too, pretty much made up just a perfect scenario to get long. Now we swept out this lower time frame low, so we may be good for another leg up here, but I am leaning towards either a retest of one of these bullish levels, something like this, and then reaccumulation here, or even a move below this low and then reaccumulation as we retest this resistance turn support. So something like that. But I think the higher time frames have now shifted bullish, so I think I'll be looking for longs into all-time highs here. I think it should be an easy play. So either we see some lower time frame accumulation in this zone because we have swept out this low, or we see some lower time frame accumulation here. Or if Bitcoin and ETH want to do the deeper retrace, then we take out this low and see a mid time frame accumulation pattern form somewhere inside this range. But as long as this range doesn't break, so if this range broke and then we saw some redistribution as we re-enter it, as long as that doesn't happen, then I think this bull trend for Sol is going to stay intact. I know a lot of people have been looking at Tezos. So it is a little bit iffy. We are entering into all-time highs. If we do break below this low right here, then we could be in for a retrace. Any mid-time frame accumulation inside of this zone is a solid long, in my opinion. So until we start to break structure and then redistribute, then the trend is intact. So keeping in mind though, even if, and I know I've explained this in a few other episodes, but even if we break a low, it doesn't necessarily mean that the trend is going to then, switch to the downside. Once the low is broken, then we need to see some distribution, and the distribution needs to kind of be equal to the amount of accumulation that we saw for the leg up. So you wouldn't try to turn a corner, going over 100 Ks an hour, right? So you need to wait and see if price is going to spend more time distributing. If it does spend time distributing, then we should have the momentum to switch to the downside. But if we temporarily take out a low without spending lots of time distributing, then we should assume that that low being taken out is just a temporary shift, and that we should see it then continue back to the upside. I hope that made sense, but all right, looking at Luna. Again, heading into all-time highs, a little bit risky taking longs, so just making sure, waiting for multiple confirmations. We swept out a low right there, so I think we can get some lower time frame accumulation, possibly on the M5 around London. If we do get that, then looking to take profit around this high, or even possibly just below $50. But we are headed into all-time high territory, so I would not be surprised if we get the move up followed by a move down, some manipulation into somewhere in this range, then hopefully we get the reaccumulation there. So I think a lower time frame entry here for Luna, a scalp around London. So we've broken out of this diagonal trend line. Now this isn't enough evidence really for me to get long. I don't like to trade the diagonal trend lines on their own. I'll wait for a retest, and then once we do get that retest, I then look for some kind of reaccumulation. Now if we get the reaccumulation, then I'll be able to get long. If you want to actually look more into how I use traditional chart patterns like supply and demand, or a triangle, or a diagonal trend line break, then I have a video in one of my earlier tutorials, so go and check that out. Then looking at perp as well. I've been deep long in this for a little while now, the last few days. So we swept out these equal lows here, breaking above a high, swept out this low here, breaking above this high, and then some more accumulation here on the lower time frames. You can see a little bit clearer on the M15, but sweeping out a low just there and breaking above a high, and then seeing more accumulation. So as long as we don't start to break some lows right here, so as long as we don't see a break below followed by distribution, then I think we're good to see a breakout. Now once we break out above this level, there's nothing stopping us from taking us all the way to $9. And then if we do head all the way to $9, there's almost no resistance up in this area. We have equal highs, and then obviously the all-time high up here. So really, if we can start to break up today or tomorrow, early week, and the rest of the market agrees, then I think it's easy longs all the way up into all-time highs. No worries, so I'm going to end it there. Comment below the NFTs that you're looking at. Really just looking at projects that have actual utility, or at least a play to earn kind of aspect to them. The next few months should be interesting. I think a lot of money is going to start flowing out of profile picture and avatar projects and into some projects with actual utility. So if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you're interested in the way that I'm trading or analyzing the charts here, click the link in the description below and pick up a copy of the strategy. All right, so we've moved to Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I'll see you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.